So it is the 4th of October 2023, and we're here with the Peach team. Super happy to have all of you guys here and a few really good members from the community as well, Christoph and Michael. And we're just here to help out the Peach team with some reviews on their wallet. Thanks for being open to having us jump in and look at your designs and also being open to our feedback. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having us and looking through the design with us. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you.
Christoph, how should we kick this one off?
I was just thinking. I was just thinking back. The first time I saw Peach, I believe, was at a conference. There was a booth, and I was just trying to think back which conference it was. But I feel like all of a sudden, in the center of this big, I think it was Amsterdam, maybe. There was just this big orange booth with people with orange outfits.
Amsterdam.
Yeah. I think that's the first time I became aware of the project. The other time that I think was come up was the design of the balance. That was kind of the discussion that happened a few months ago or so in the design community. It was like, let's combo BTC and Sats. But I'd never actually used it, and I had played around with it, but I never went through the whole trade offer process until trying it out for this call. So it's great to, I don't know, it's just great to have you on here. I'm curious to hear, I'm sure not everyone here is familiar or had prior exposure. So maybe just giving a little bit of background, what the application does, what your project's about, all of these good things. And then something with design reviews that's always helpful is people will always have all kinds of random feedback, but there might be some feedback that would be really valuable for you right now. So if you could point out areas where you would really like to talk about, could be something in the application right now or something in the future, user feedback or so, that would also be helpful to steer the conversation.
Yeah, we have a lot of ideas what we still want to do with Peach, like considering we're just 1 year old, a bit more than 1 year. Quickly about Peach. So we are a mobile application for trading P2P. So you trust trade from person to person. And Peach is just facilitating the trade. We're helping people find each other and ensuring that the trade is as secure as possible so that nobody cheats over the other one. Because, trading with strangers can sometimes be a bit scary, but we try to make it as fun and safe as possible. So, so basically that's this. And we also implemented a wallet feature. So even users who are not really familiar with Bitcoin, they can just jump in, downloading Peach, and they have all in one place what they need for trading with Bitcoin.
And Steph, do you want
let's just quickly about us who is on this call. So you see that there is Steph and I, of course, Michael, our front-end developer, Markus, our Swiss Army knife, and Kieran, who recently joined our team, who is going to help us with the design as well. So also keep an eye on Kieran because he is the one with the knowledge.
Half the people here are the Peach team, huh?
Yeah, it seems so. We're Sybil attacking you.
You guys really value in the team. Incredible.
Yeah, you never know with these design review calls. Sometimes you get like 20 people in there, sometimes much fewer. It's just, you never know. Cool. I had one follow-up question. How has this last year been for you? Did you see a lot of activity? Has there been, I don't know, big changes in your product, or did it kind of work out the way you expected?
Well, I think the vision stayed true, the core of like facilitating P2P trades. But what came kind of unexpected, what was actually the logical conclusion was we got told, guys, you need a wallet. And it made absolutely sense. So we just implemented a wallet. In the beginning, it was really just the bare bones of wallet. You can receive and you can send out everything. Since then, we improved a lot based on that. Also, thanks to the BDK guys, because BDK is a really good project that helped us bootstrapping that one. But yeah, we have been all over the place trying stuff, listening to user feedback, and the app has grown. Like it's not only our vision, but also what we received has been influencing the product and shaped it.
And one thing, by the way, I hope you can hear me now. I was muted before. One thing I wanted to add for Peach, the product is, and I think it's crucial, is that we're also non-KYC. So in order to sign up with us, we don't require any user identification. And I think this call is great because what Peach's mission really, I think, is to be the go-to Bitcoin app that experienced Bitcoiners recommend to new coiners. And in order for that to happen, we need to have the values right. And I think that's, I mean, it's not easy, but I think a lot of people get the values right. But I think the most crucial thing or the most decisive thing is to get the UX right and to get the design right and to make it visually appealing and easy to use. And I think this is like this is a big challenge. And I think Peach is successful on that challenge, but it also has still a lot of potential. So I think that's like one of the big reasons why I'm personally excited for this call.
Do you feel like there's anything major missing from the application?
A lot.
I mean, like something really big is like only half the
Yeah.
half the business there, or
So,
do you feel like it's generally?
there are a couple of things we're looking into implementing, which include especially some sort of address book. Like we're looking into paynames as well, so people can identify each other without necessarily leaking their identity. The social aspect is a big one. Then also more wallet functionality. We want to include Liquid as well. We want to see there. And mentioning Liquid, also Lightning is probably the question number one is when Lightning? It's coming, but we want to do it right. So it takes a bit more time.
So
Yeah,
it's
and
almost
I would add to that even, well, almost even before like a lot of what has been said, one big thing for that I really want us to implement is some in-app market data. And that's actually something I'm actually currently working on with Skinner, and it's gonna come on his plate. But I think I think that's the next step for Pitch. That would be even Pitch 0.4.
So the timing that you guys are having this call with us is perfect as well, because pretty much most of the content in the guide is around Lightning stuff. So it's really perfect timing. So good stuff. Yeah, shall we dive into the Figma file? I can share the Figma file here. I have to, before I share it, I have to thank two people as well. I have to thank BTC Honey Badger, because he actually put together a whole bunch of the screens. And I also have to thank Christoph, because him and I were in the file this morning pretty early, going through all of the screens and trying to be as helpful as we can in terms of feedback.
And Honey Badger brought up, but also put it in the screenshots for RoboSets. I'm only vaguely familiar with RoboSets, but is that very similar to Peach, or is there a
Yes.
big difference?
Yeah, RoboSats is one of the more known P2P marketplaces, but they focus on Lightning, and I'm not sure. I think they recently also released an Android application, but as far as I know, it's mostly web-based.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I see there's a couple of people moving around in the Figma file. So it's pretty much just taking screenshots and adding sticky notes or notes in whichever way we were comfortable. For me personally, I just use these notes here. I just use green for really like, I used yellow for copy, and I used orange for tips. And I don't know, maybe it's an idea that we all just, or maybe you can tell us where you'd like to start. As Christoph mentioned, maybe there's an area that you particularly like.
How about we also share it, since you're recording it, maybe for the viewers later on, they would like to see what we're actually looking at.
Yeah, let me share this tab here, and then I'm going to share screen. So here we go. Yes. Is that
By the way, what one kind of more regulatory question? Did you, when you have these peer-to-peer and exchange stuff, do you run into trouble with Apple? Because there is a causa here in the Czech Republic where there's an application called Vexel, which is peer-to-peer, and it doesn't have so you can kind of exchange offline. You can make orders of offers. Just they don't escrow Bitcoin, but you can just finding other people and offers, and they have been banned from the App Store like a month
Yeah.
ago.
Do you
And
know the reason why? Like specifically what Apple said officially?
yeah, because they recommend reckless behavior with cash.
Jesus.
That was
Well,
that was the official statement. I think they're
Yeah.
they're working on it to get it back, but yeah, we'll see. They might have to go as a PWA going forward if they. Yeah, it's a nightmare for them.
Yeah, I
Yes,
can
we
imagine.
haven't done the process yet, actually, of going to the App Store. We are in the slide on
Exactly.
that side at the moment.
But we are hopeful that we get accepted because we're also a registered business in Switzerland. I don't know, Wechsel, if they are a company behind it, if they're applying regulations or not.
I don't know. The company behind it is Satoshi Labs, so Trezor founders.
Yeah, it sounds
Um,
official. Like it's surprising that they like.
Oh, Christoph, that's not it. I think it's vexel.it, like so. But yeah, so the founders of Satoshi Labs funded this, and I think it's not even a for-profit company. It's a foundation, I think, because there is no way, I think, for them to really, or they don't need to monetize it. So
But yeah, no, the Apple listing is for sure a risk. I mean, it's part of the risk assessment for sure. And yeah, we're on this right now. We've done the early legal process stuff, so we'll see.
I think you might be safer probably because you integrate payment solutions and bank accounts and all these kinds of stuff that is kind of already regulated. But if you support kind of peer-to-peer trading of basically offline, then you might run into the same problem. So
yeah, it sometimes I feel also that depends on who is reviewing the apps. Just to go on a tangent here, like sometimes they just say, okay, it's all good. Like in the early days, we actually had the peach emoji as a logo, and it was flying for like 10 updates or so, and then suddenly they noticed, wait a minute, you're using our peach emoji, you cannot do that. So sometimes things also fly under the radar. So, but yeah, it's not a strategy to bank upon. But we will see. We will see what they say when we start applying for the App Store.
yeah, sorry for derailing the
Yeah, no
conversation.
worries.
Let's go into this thing.
Well. Yeah, before we dive in, I also just want to give you guys a huge compliment because, there's a lot of work that's been put into this. I mean, into any product anyway, but there's Peach Wallet has something that we spoke about the last time on one of the Bitcoin design community calls, is that there's so much of room for wallets in the space to build a very unique brand. And I feel that Peach has done a really good job of creating its own brand, and it just comes across really strong in the design and that kind of thing. So just huge kudos to you as a team for pulling that off.
Well, thank you. Also, I'm gonna make sure to forward that to Bitcoin Labrador, who did most of that design.
Cool. Yeah, let's dive in. As Christoph said, is there any part of the user flow in particular that you guys would like to focus on? And then we can start with that part.
Yeah, actually, I would like us to start with the buy and flow process.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, even more than the wallet.
The buy flow. All right, let's dive in. So Christoph has made a bunch of comments there. I don't know if you'd like to. Everyone is here now, so we're at the buy flow. All right, cool.
Yeah, my comments were all pretty minor. It was just small stuff. I find the two currencies, like the four currencies at the top, it always takes me a second to kind of figure it out. It's just wondering if on the right, if the two values could be swapped. So you always have euro at the bottom. You're buying between and then next. Like, I guess the first time I tried this, I wasn't sure like what happens when I press next. Like what's the thing?
Mhm.
And am I actually buying? Am I going to some checkout flow, or I don't know? So I was just wondering if the label could be tweaked a little bit. It's like instead of you're buying, said create an offer or look for offers between, and then next could maybe just say view offers, or I don't know. So just some small thing there. I was wondering why this euro currency has this different font that I don't think I've seen anywhere else in the application.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wish Bitcoin Labrador would be on this call, because then he could give us a reason for this.
Yeah, that was just small stuff.
Yeah, I think maybe trying to think back, the reason was to keep the input field not from moving around so much, because this is a mono space font. And yeah, if we used a different font, the input field started to like jitter around depending on if it's like a 1 or a 0, because they have different widths, those characters. So it might be the reason. But then thinking about the SAT selection, which is not as mono as a mono font, there it's working. So yeah, maybe something to consider if you really need it as a different font here.
You know, it's so interesting. I never even considered these input fields. I just used the slider on the right.
Yeah, you can actually tap on that and type
Yeah.
in an exact value if you're looking for that.
Same.
Yeah, that was one feedback that I had, because I did both, and I actually like the slider. It's not something that you see in other apps, right? Or at least I haven't seen it. But the slider is not very good for tweaking the amounts in small increments. If you want to be precise, then you have to use, from a UX perspective, you have to use
Yeah.
the input field. And whenever I typed into the input field, the keyboard opens, but there's no focus mode of the input field, so I don't know which field I'm actually inputting in. So that's probably something that I try to tweak. But
Yes.
the slider is actually something, pretty nice feature. But I'm not sure. I mean, and that's too much talking about me, but I have an amount in mind that I want to buy or sell. Probably it's not like I'm gonna open the app and say, okay, I need between 80 and 100 euros. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
I
the
don't know if
reason.
you have any kind of
Yeah.
analytics data of how these are used, but would be
But
something.
on the other hand, you're going to be matched with offers, right? And the offers will be all over the place potentially.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think this is the reason why we also wanted to start out with the buy flow, because I think it's one of the most important screens in our app, in that if you already have an account, it's the first thing you see.
Mhm.
And I think, as you mentioned, there's like a lot of things on this screen. I think this is also the biggest challenge that we're working on, and I think a lot of the feedback we're also actively thinking about how to improve this. Like, for example, okay, why is there so much information at the top? Why is there so much information in between and so much at the bottom? So I think, so if I'm hearing you correctly, our suspicion that this is a little bit too much for a user to see all in one place is also sort of what you felt, right? And a little bit confusion of what
No,
exactly is going to happen next.
no, I kind of knew what the elements are for. The only thing, or the two main things, are kind of the interaction design things that, for the slider, it's going to be hard to work with precise values. And for the input fields, they at least need a focused state so that I know which field I'm typing into. And the rest is probably, I mean, you could probably tweak out the visuals more so that fields align better, or the button in the middle, it feels like it's floating a little bit. But these are minor issues. I would say. I think the bigger ones are the input, the way how you input values there.
Yeah, I think it works. Also, think it works well overall.
Yeah. And I actually like the slider. It's very, it's direct manipulation. It's you can play around with it. But yeah.
That's a good suggestion from Christoph as well. This one here, I'll just come back to it. This top section always takes me a second to figure out. I wonder if it's more intuitive if the Bitcoin sat value is always at the top and the euro at the bottom. So basically, swap the right two values. So swap. Okay.
Yeah, it's true. They're crisscrossed if you look at them.
Yeah, should we go to the next screen, or do you want to chat a bit more about this one?
Maybe actually to add one thing, as you mentioned, like if you have a specific amount in mind that you want to buy, then it might be a bit confusing that you have a range, which I guess you sort of can figure out and could be made clearer if we said something like show offers for this amount. So I think that could help. And I think the goal of integrating market data that Steph mentioned would be to sort of aid users also in the process of which range to select by, for example, showing them how many offers are actually open for that range at the moment. So that way it could, so the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think if you use the app, it's a potential that you don't even notice if you don't think about it. But I think once I tell you, hey, it might be that by selecting a range for this amount, you just about miss 20 offers, then I think it like the UI opportunity there also becomes clear. And I think this is like why we're looking into adding more market data into the flow to sort of make it, to prevent these situations and to clarify.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's a good idea. It's like when you search for hotels or so, and it says, okay, there are 11 hotels that have, I don't know, a pool, and only 4 that have a beach or whatever it is you're looking for, and it says right next to the filter, so you kind of get a little bit of a preview of what might be on the horizon. And of course, it's probably impossible to do that live, or if you're going to let an offer sit for a few days to find a really good one that comes in if you're not in a hurry. But maybe some type of estimate. That's a tricky one, right? To figure out.
Technically, it can be done. Like depending on the question is if it's performant or not. But I think we can do some tweaks there, since it's just an amount, and we can do some estimates. Question is then where we put it would be like sometimes I feel technically everything is straightforward. We know what the solution would be, but design is like there's so many ways to do stuff that could either look really good or really bad. So it's always the tricky one is the UX part, I think.
Yeah.
I had another idea that came to mind. I experienced it on the other screens. I'm one for error messages. That's kind of something I always look for is the error messages on the screen. One of the other screens, I kind of slid the slider all the way to the bottom, and then the next button for me was not clickable, so I couldn't click because it was below the minimum threshold. So just the idea of that in terms of, I was trying to click next, but then I wasn't getting feedback as to why I couldn't click next. And I also didn't know, like, what would be the minimum amount that I would have to input for me to click next.
And actually, that's a great piece of feedback, because the reason it isn't actually the minimum amount, but it's that the upper amount is lower than the lower amount. So
that
whatever
shouldn't even happen. 340 sats should not be possible. You can look at into this book. Like the idea would be actually that this screen you cannot force an error. So we're trying to keep those edge cases to a minimum, but you found one. Now we have to fix it.
Yeah, I definitely slid the slider all the way to the bottom. Christoph also says when you're testing out apps, we try to break it. So I slid it all the way to the bottom, and I was trying to click next, and then nothing was happening. I also couldn't click on next as well. So yeah.
Yeah, at least the message would be fine. That's true. It's a good feedback.
I had one more question. This balance display that combines the Bitcoin value and the sats, how has the reception on that been?
Really good. Like everybody loves it. I mean, people even started incorporating it in their apps. Like I personally just love it as well, because you just see the relationship between sats and Bitcoin. I hope you feel the same. I mean, even Jack Dorsey tweeted, well, can you say tweeted? He posted it on Nostr, which I think was the cause for this whirlwind of media attention.
Yeah, you guys caused a ripple on the social media spaces with that one. Yeah.
Actually, I just noticed I do have one last question on the buying thing. Is it clear enough that the upper input is supposed to be the higher value, whereas the lower is supposed to be the lower value? So like the 40K stats would be the lower bound, and the 340 were supposed to be the upper bound.
It's a very good question, and my immediate honest answer would be no.
Yeah. Because it looks like that's what you were trying to do also, right? Like to say, okay, I want to buy between 340 and 40,000. And if I say it like that, it also sounds logical. It's just not what we do at the moment.
Yeah, good one.
Interesting. Yeah. I found it intuitive. Michael, how about you?
Yeah, I was just rechecking, and since so the input fields match kind of the logic in the slider, right? So the top notch of the slider manipulates the top input field on the left, and the lower one, the lower one. So I also had no problem with that.
Okay, I was just being maybe I was being the very, how could you say, the user that's just really trying to move through the interface as fast as possible.
Yeah, I think maybe the question itself threw me off a little bit, and I had to recheck. But then when I rechecked, now I have the app open here, and
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen, by the way, if you want to see this live, how those two interact.
But it's interesting, right? There's a difference between looking at a screen statically and thinking about how it should work, and then once you play with it, once you tap around, and like once you use the slider, I feel like it's obvious. You just get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think for me personally, I didn't get it like right off the bat, but definitely if I had used it a little bit more, I would get it. But just like right off the bat, my brain didn't get it. I didn't fully like see that straight away, but I was also going really fast. Like I was.
I mean, an option could be just you make both possible. It doesn't matter which one you put the higher or the lower value. You just accept it, and then you do like just one line of code, like figure out which one's the higher and the lower one.
That's what I wanted to, and I checked if it's possible. I don't think it is. I mean, if you put in the lower input field a value that is higher than in the bigger one, you just in the background switch out the values, right? Or so that it doesn't really matter, so the user wouldn't have to think about it.
By the way, real quick, we're half an hour into the call. We've talked about one screen.
Yeah, good one. So just to summarize for this one, maybe just some error states and some education around minimum and maximum amounts would be a good one. But yeah, after let's move to the next ones. Shall we dive into the next screen next to this? Just the following ones?
Yeah, let's go. So essentially the next screens are choosing your payment methods, as you can see. And I think my personal pain point here is that there is a lot of steps to get to the payment method, but we have been iterating over this flow a couple of times now, and we think that this is currently the best to get to adding payment methods. And you only have to do it once, so I think it's a fair trade-off.
Yeah, I think a lot of times having more screens is fine as long as each one is very clear. Like there's one clear thing that you're supposed to do, and you can move through them fairly quickly. Something I was wondering here in the top left of the screen, there's a back button and it says payment methods, which to me was like, okay, am I going back to payment methods when I click that? But it's because this title is left aligned and not center aligned as it is in most applications, like the screen title is in the center at the top, and
Yeah.
then the label on the
Okay.
left connected with the arrow is the previous screen.
Or back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we were not aware of that convention. I think the reason why we have it left aligned is because we sometimes have icons in the header, and it might start to look a bit weird.
Yeah.
Like also we have to choose one or the other, right? Either the current title of the screen or which one you go back to. But center aligned, something to consider. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be probably an easy fix. I also had, quite a few times I tapped this button because I think the tap target is pretty small. Probably I tried to, I had to a couple of times when I wanted to go back. I had to, try two times.
You can only tap the arrow, and there's not a huge
Yeah.
hitbox around it.
Okay, we will increase that then.
I added in a comment here. So I pretty much like the progress bar, but the progress bar is an idea that you guys you used it in the onboarding process, which I think you used very nicely. I added in a comment here that first-time users publishing an offer could be nervous the first time round. It's if it's someone who's new and they're unfamiliar with this publishing process, just like a little bit of security and making them feel a little bit safe before they publish their first offer. And that could be any way, that could be like just letting them know like this is what publishing an offer means, like an education around that, or letting them know the number of steps, just something along those lines, because that's something that comes up in the research as well. When you speak with people, they say they're always nervous to do that first next step, and I expect that people might have that with this as well. So that was just an idea.
Yeah, I like this idea. That's very good feedback. I think a progress bar, just saying, okay, this is step 1 of 3, is already a low-hanging fruit, a quick one we could apply here. Also, since we are talking about new users, what we are looking into a bit is kind of like, those tutorials that are inside the app that just highlight a specific area. I usually skip them, but I think some other users actually appreciate them. So just to explain each part of the screen, is this something that you also would encourage, or rather like it's too annoying?
I mean, it's ideal when you can make it part of the experience. So the empty screens like you have here, it just says none yet, right? And I'm like, when I get to the screen, I'm like, okay, I have none yet. What do I have none of yet, right? And what does that mean? Like, and then I see, okay, add new current. Okay, I get it. And a lot of times, instead of just saying there's nothing here, you can just say, now it's time to set up, add a payment method. So when you accept an offer, the deal can be done right away or so. Or we have 10,000 options for 400 countries, or I don't know, whatever is important there. But the none yet is like, it's like negative information, right? It doesn't really
Good point.
help.
I made a comment for that.
Yeah.
A really good one. I added in a note here at the bottom.
Yeah, that's I think a lot of initially with all these smartphone initial screens, it was always like, here's like 5 static screens. It's like, okay, let's first read the manual, and then it changed more and more to let's educate people at the same time while making a decision. So it's like very active or interactive education.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Educate people while they make a decision.
Do you think multiple screens, so do you think it would be better to have it on multiple screens with a progress bar versus put it all on one screen? Like essentially, if you go to the publish buy offer screen that you see at the very end, like you could imagine that essentially on this screen, you make all the elements interactive essentially, so that on the same screen where you publish the offer, you can edit the amount, you can edit the method, or you can choose to edit the methods, you can choose your wallet, whereas at the moment we have it sort of as screens that you have to step through. So I'm wondering, on the point of showing users how long it will take, if you feel it will be better to have it still on multiple screens so that each screen has a single responsibility versus having it all on one screen.
Mm.
Sorry, is this only for, let's say you've made an offer, you see the summary, and then you want to go back? Is that the situation?
So the idea being that so it's before you publish an offer. It's essentially like the first screens, right? The amount, the payment method currency, and technically on this screen, the little icon in the header is choosing your payout wallet, which by default is the Peach wallet. So technically all of that is setting up the offer, and then on this screen you click publish to publish it. So I'm wondering if you think it could be helpful to integrate the entire setup process of amount, payment method, and payout wallet into one screen.
There's two things that came up as you were talking. It feels like there's two distinctive steps in this process. The one distinctive step is set up the offer, and the next distinctive step is publish the offer. Like those sound
Yep.
really easy for me in my mind. So maybe in some way those two steps could be outlined to users. First, you need to set up the offer. This is the screen or the screens to set up the offer. These are the screens to publish the offer. There's two steps.
Yeah, I would keep this the step-by-step setup and then have a review. It's like, does this look good? Ready to go? Cool. Press the button, and
Yeah.
it's public.
Let me add a note in here.
Yeah, and I'd also say that, and if you on that review screen, I mean, it always depends on how many screens in that wizards in the wizard that you have. If somebody sees a review and just wants to change one thing, then you could basically open up a kind of, I don't know, full screen modal of that step that allows you to stay on the review screen, just change one value and close it again. But that works only if these overrides that you're doing on the review screen don't conflict with what has happened before, or don't have any impact on, if I want to just change something that was on screen one, but I don't want to go back to screen one, and I can change it on the review screen. That would be nice, right? Because I do just a quick change, but I've worked in in telco where you had like 8 steps. So and people at the very end, customers remember, no, I actually don't want this option. I want, and then they had to go 5 steps back because we could not allow them to edit it directly on the review screen, because when they change something on step 2, it has impact on step 3, 4, and maybe 5. So, but if there are no such dependencies, then you could allow users on the review screen to just quickly update something. That would be kind of convenient with that, because you wouldn't have to go back.
Yeah.
But if it's a 2-step, 3-step process, maybe it's
Yeah, no,
maybe
that's
it's
not the case. I like that suggestion. Like if you could just click on the value on the summary and it pops up a little modal. Yeah, absolutely.
Could I add that in as a note here so that we remember all this valuable feedback? What was the note that Michael said?
So as I understood, if you, like, for example, in the summary, if you could click on the amount, that it opens a little pop-up or a modal that allows you to change the amount rate in that screen without having to go back. Same, I suppose, for the payment methods. And
Yeah.
also finally the receiving address, for which we have the button, so it's kind of already going in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that maybe could have impacts are the actual amounts, right? Because you choose an amount that is kind of not available. Maybe that has impact, but I'm not sure. So that's just something to think about, to let people just quickly. Yeah, and also Christoph had a good observation that I also would echo, is that when you're in these linear flows, I would probably hide the bottom tabs, because then they in the better case, you just don't notice them, But in the worst case, you accidentally tap on them while you click on next, and then it probably yanks you out of the process. And there are like 5 unnecessary visual elements at the point, right? You want people to go through that flow. So I'd probably remove the tab bar in these wizards.
I think that will be an easy one coming soon because I think there's no real reason why we have them.
I think the only reason right now is that we have a footer that is global, like it's on every screen. And if we disable it, it starts, the elements just jumping around because of how React Native works. So it means, Michael, we have to implement the footer on every screen, which we already start doing with the
we
header.
can just disable it.
No, but like we can
Like
disable
on the
it, but
overlay, as you see, we don't have it.
Michael, the elements start jumping around. That's what I mean. But we can see what technically, like, definitely not an issue. It's just moving around some stuff.
Yeah, I think how this is solved, instead of elements moving around, how this is solved a lot of times is just that the next screen, it slides in from the side and covers the whole previous screen.
Yeah.
So, like, it just takes over the whole thing. Or it slides in from the bottom. That's also see that often. And a lot of times in applications, that's used for whenever the user creates something, like a post in Damus or in some other tool or so, that tends to take over the whole screen. This type of a post whatever creation mode. It gets very focused.
There's another one here from Christoph. I don't know if you want to share about this one as well.
Oh yeah, just the label online wallet. I wasn't quite sure what's meant by that. I had to tap through and then I knew what it was. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it. Sometimes you just need to click and then you know.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Like these names, also national options was called differently before because they called it local options and people didn't know what was meant by that. Yeah, like tricky.
And one more comment here from Christoph as well. Offer published. I don't know if you want to.
I wonder if that one was moved around. The one at the bottom. So, sorry, are you going to pull up this comment?
Yeah, this one here, offer published. I did not get a notification that offers were available.
Oh yeah, okay. I actually had a question before that one and that's on a different page. Before offer published, I got a screen that said it's time for a group hug, which I thought, cool, that's fun. But I was like, with group hub, it says we bundle escrow releases for lower transaction fees. And I thought, okay, that's a handful. I don't quite know what that means. And it was kind of, so it came out of the blue, right? And then it's like peer-to-peer, super private, but hold on, we're doing group hugs now.
Okay, yeah, point taken. Like the reason you saw it is only see it once and then you never see it again because we just wanted to put some highlight on a feature that saves on fees later on the road. But now that you mention it as first user who might not even know much about Bitcoin, this can seem very confusing. Like also, what is a group hug doing here? Yeah. Yeah, we have to think about that if you want to put that away or not.
Yeah, I guess the question. I mean, it's fun this way, right? You have a fun, playful name. The very kind of direct version would be, let's say, you have the bundling feature enabled. You're saving 3% on transaction fees. If you ever want to, like, here's a disadvantage. If you want to turn it off, go to settings, right? That would be a very practical description. But if let's say it says like, I don't know, I just made that up, like it's 3% better, I'm like, okay, cool, thank you for doing that. I'm gonna save on fees.
Yeah, which we don't, by the way. It's opt-in, like you have to consciously actually activate it.
Yeah, so it's like, if you'd like to save on fee X%, or if that's even possible to state it that way, go to settings. Or you can just have a button here, a toggle right there that allows you to turn it on. Because if I feel like I have to go to settings, I'm like, is this going to cancel my offer flow now? How will I get back
that's
to
true.
it? And there's a different page in this Figma file where you can see what that screen looks like. It's here in my video here at the top too. Yeah, it's a difficult mixture, right? Making it fun and playful, not too serious, but also giving that information that conveys what it really does, and as a user that allows me to make an intelligent, informed
Absolutely.
decision.
That's sweet. It's time for a group hug. I've seen this for the first time. So nice. Who was thinking of the copy? This is so nice.
It's Bitcoin Labrador who came up with the idea of group hug. Like we were just thinking about how could we call transaction bundling without making it so boring, and there it was, the group hug.
Fun. Love it. Fun. Should we add in the comment that Christoph made underneath there? It's that screen here, group hug.
You have the screenshot? Yeah, put it in.
Yeah, it's in the second page. I don't know who's sharing the screen, but where it says wallet screenshots in the left sidebar.
Let me share this other tab.
If you click that, you'll see all the other pages, and it's in the Christoph page. Okay, we have 10 minutes though, so
Yeah. Let's move on to the next.
What would you like to talk about for sure?
I mean, the logical next step is the match screen, which this we want to rework as well to make it more intuitive. Because like the idea behind is that you see kind of like the matches, like you get them on Tinder and you can choose who you want to match with. And some of the user feedback was that, first of all, many users, they kind of are stuck when they see the unmatched screen here. Like they are waiting for something, but they don't know what's happening. So often they ask like, what now? Do I make the payment? How can I make a payment? And it's not even that they're in a trade yet with the seller in this case, because the seller has to match back. Another feedback we got is that people who start matching, they only match one offer, but they don't know that they can match as many as they want to increase their chances. So often they just match one and they leave it at that, and then they complain that the seller canceled, which is not true. The seller might have just matched another buyer. So that's why you always have to say that they can match as many offers as they want. And it does not help to have this little question mark icon on the top left, top right corner, which would explain exactly that they can match as many as possible. So it seems like these help pop-ups, they're a bit ignored in some cases.
Yeah, I was not aware of those things either that you just mentioned. I think that's a good thing to put up right up front. Yeah.
Now that I told you, you are aware of them.
Yeah. I don't know. But maybe that's just a personal thing. I think select would be probably a better word than match, because you select the counterparty, right? And the counterparty has to select you so that a trade can happen.
Or maybe request trade.
But maybe it would still help with because what you just mentioned, that people were not aware that the other. I mean, it would help if you on this screen would see somehow the status. When you select multiple offers, you would see somewhere waiting for, I don't know, seller, or waiting for buyer, or something like that. But that was very unqualified feedback.
No, that makes sense. Just being explicit about what you just did and what happens next. Small summary, like you have 2 of 3, you accepted 2 offers, 3 or 7 or so. Yeah, that makes sense. One of my things about this screen was the percentage over KYC price. which I look back and I don't think I saw the term KYC at all, except for the homepage in one place, I think. So like someone who gets to this first time, I'm like, okay, 8% over KYC price. I know what KYC is, and I know why it's in there, because I've been around Bitcoin for some time now and all of this stuff. But other people may not be aware what it is. And then somewhere else in the application, I don't know where it says where it was. I think it's when you're selling, you're choosing your discount or premium. And then somewhere else, I saw the term market rate. So I was wondering if the term discount premium market rate could show up versus this 8% or this KYC price. Because KYC price over KYC price, that's a loaded term. Like you're packing in a bunch of philosophical stuff, almost sliding it in there as well, right? About, like sharing your information and privacy and all kinds of stuff. If you're just saying market rate, then people can project onto that whatever they want. And it might be easier to just say, okay, market rate. Okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah, that's a good point that you're addressing here. Like even where the prices come from and all this, like there's a lot of discussion behind that. And I know also people often they complain a bit that it seems too expensive, but yeah, currently we are in the stage where we compare between like the market rate on centralized exchanges and then what's on Peach or on P2P platforms, and usually they are more expensive, but it's tricky to also educate people why that is. Like, why is it more expensive? Or to put it the other way around, why is it cheaper to buy on a centralized exchange? So there's really interesting stuff behind that, for sure.
Yep, totally. The question is just, is that single term the place to pack all of that in, without any further explanation?
To be honest, at this stage, I think the decision was also a little bit of a troll. Like Pitch is early, so we're very much still in the Bitcoin community. Our users are very much part of the Bitcoin community. And we had all of this discussion on the price, peer-to-peer Bitcoin price versus non-peer-to-peer Bitcoin price, blah blah blah. And so at some point, it was a little bit like inside troll to add this term right now. So the product will evolve, to fit more and more with our audience as we go, hopefully. So yeah, a lot of as you said, overloaded term and even some stuff are part of the flow, will completely evolve as we go.
Yeah, and this is definitely not something unique to Peach Wallet, the use of how to figure out the right terms. We've had entire discussions in the Bitcoin design community just on terminology. Those could be hour-long discussions.
Do you, now that you mention it, do you have maybe somewhere a place where you document terminology that could be used in opposition to others that would be discouraged? Like this would be a perfect example. Like, what can you say instead of KYC, which only Bitcoiners or traders know about?
It's so contextual. It's very difficult to give specific, broad. And like you said, if it's a mainstream application, you use different terms than if, let's say, it's some pro trading application. So it's very difficult.
One small comment from me as well. I guess maybe you guys have maybe thought about this is it was more copy with these payment methods and then the word euro underneath that. It felt more like the euro would be more of a currency for me. So I thought, well, what if you just, what was my suggestion here? Copy with these payment methods refers to euros. I wonder if it could be simplified to you want to buy between X and Y with, and then no mention of payment methods. Could make it more universal as euros is a currency. So there was just a little bit of, it's just a copy thing that's not a payment method. It's a payment, it's a currency.
Yeah, that's a question. What is more important? Is it the payment methods or the currencies? And I think we prefer more payment methods and currencies. Like this is what you use. Like, I mean, Revolut accepts multiple currencies, so this falls more under like as a level 2, like more important are the payment methods that you accept and pay with.
But I love the idea of just saying with, because it makes the whole thing so simple, and I think the user knows what this is because he just set it up. So
Yeah, you could just remove these payment methods and just put within.
Yeah, that for sure.
Yeah. We're pretty much at the end of the call. I don't think we have time to go through the rest of the screens. We've left a whole bunch of comments still in the file. I guess we should be wrapping it up now. I don't know. What do you think, rest of the team?
Yeah, there's always option to do a follow-up call, or we could do another call in 3 months or so if you would like to talk about more things or share more, or you could have a channel or continue the conversation on Discord or wherever else. So no need to end the whole thing here just because the hour is over.
If you like, I think the idea of having a follow-up call to go more into the wallet part as well would be very nice. Like, I'm definitely open for that. I think the rest of the team as well.
Yeah, and we can, as you said, we can totally stay in touch over some channels. Like we have Discord as well. We can join your Discord, and yes, we keep each other updated. Yes.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be interesting in 3 months from now, for sure.
And what, for example, Jakob from Albi does sometimes, some other designers, we have this design review channel, and they just say, hey, here's a design I'm working on. Here's version A, version B. What do you think? And then you just very quickly get some feedback.
Yes,
that's
perfect.
Also possible.
No, that's awesome. Perfect. That's great because I think that like maybe to on my side at least to conclude there are two stuff really. There are like UI and interaction design and all of this, and then there is also all the question which is UX, but even before UX, I would say the mechanism of the app of how it works. Like, do we want right now, for example, the seller, the maker, and the buyer, the taker, do we want actually to have both? Do we want to have this double matching system? Do we want to, as you said earlier, have the flow of setup offer, publish offer, and then match or trade? Or do we want to show the order book straight away? So that would be two user experience entry flow until the conversion point. So there is all those mechanisms as well, which are complete other rabbit hole in my view that we can maybe tackle another time.
Yeah, this was a great call. I love it that you guys managed to get all of the team to rally in. Well done.
Yeah, only our designer Bitcoin Labrador, who could sadly not join.
Yeah,
would have been nice to have him as well. But since you have done the recording, maybe I can send him a link. You're gonna upload it on YouTube.
Absolutely. Right? Straight after this call, I'm gonna upload it to YouTube. I'll share it with you guys. I'll try to make a summary of all of the things that we discussed. And as a follow-up, let's maybe think about another call 3 months from now, arrange it with the team. And as you guys said, you're working on the Lightning part as the next part, and the community can be super helpful with that as well.
2024 is the plan.
Cool. We're here, ready to help you guys.
And then you're going to meet up at Bitcoin Amsterdam?
No, unfortunately, no. Chino is going to Madrid in this weekend.
Yeah, on Friday.
Lugano, I think in 3 weeks, and that's it.
Cool. And next year, maybe again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Next year in the bull market. Right now, it's bear market mode.
Yeah, you could walk there.
Yeah.
No, super nice having you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So much,
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Take
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.